Hello, Abnormal Family. Good to see you guys again. Don't forget, tomorrow night, 8:45 Central Standard Time, or Daylight Time, however you like to say it, we're going boots on the ground again, guys. Are y'all ready for that? I've been enjoying seeing everybody in the chat, guys. It's been amazing seeing so many of you show up, seeing you all visit with each other as a family, and enjoying these encounters and adventures together. It's one of my favorite things to do. I really appreciate you guys, and you guys take my mind off of a lot of things sometimes, and I really appreciate that too. But there is something big coming up. I can't go into it, but I am very, 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 very excited, and I can't wait to tell y'all when it happens because it's huge. You guys are going to be so happy, but not as happy as I'm going to be. Let's get into this one. I'm Jerry, a trained engineer for years of experience, but some encounters on the rails still haunt me. The old tracks wind through eerie landscapes, dark tunnels, and isolated stretches that seem to whisper tales of their own. I've seen things that make my skin crawl. Strange shadows darting across the tracks, disembodied whispers in the wind, and ghostly apparitions that vanish in the blink of an eye. One night, my train rumbled through the deserted stretch, and I swore I saw a figure standing on the tracks. Its eyes glimmered in the lights of my train. I slammed on the tracks because it looked human and I did not want to hit nobody. You'd be surprised how many people step in front of us each year just to take their own lives. But I approached, and there was no one there. And of course I had to wait for the emergency teams to show up because I'd hit the emergency brakes, which triggers them. We was given the okay to go ahead. Another time, I heard a faint cry for help echoing through the tunnels. But me and my crew, we found absolutely nothing. These experiences have left me with more questions than I have answers for. Are these mere tricks of the mind, or is something more sinister lurking in the shadows of the rails, is what my co-engineer would ask me. I can't shake the feeling, I told him, that I'm not alone out there in the trails and on the rails, because we know what we see and they hold secrets. I've been driving my train through forgotten towns and villages where the only signs of life were the whispers of the past. The old buildings seem to hold secrets, their windows like empty eyes staring back at me. I've seen things that defy explanation, shadows that move of their own accord, and figures that lurk just out of sight. But it's not just my imagination playing tricks on me. I've seen them. The werewolves, they're real. I've seen them prowling through the abandoned streets, their eyes glowing in the dark. At first, I thought it was just my mind playing tricks on me, but then I saw them again and again and again. And it does not take much light to make their eyes glow. They're not like the monsters from the horror movies. They're not savage or mindless, I don't believe. They seem to be watching me, following me. I feel like they're trying to tell me something, but I don't know what. They're very, very intelligent. I'm both terrified and fascinated by these creatures. I've seen them on old bridges, their figures silhouetted against the moonlight. They're always near water, like they're drawn to the creeks and rivers. When our train's headlights hit them, they freeze like deer caught in the beam. Then they bolt, dashing toward the darkness. Their footsteps sometimes even heard echoing off of the old steel and wooden bridges. Some have even jumped off the bridges, their bodies vanishing into the darkness below. I've heard the splash, like a stone dropped into the water. It's like they'd rather risk their unknown depths than face the light of the engine. It's almost as if they're curious about me, like they're trying to understand what I'm doing in their territory. They've never tried to harm me, even when I'm alone and vulnerable, fixing a hose or stretching my legs. They just watch with their eyes gleaming in the darkness. The howling, it is the strangest part. It's like they're trying to communicate with me, like they're trying to tell me something. I've tried to respond, to howl back at them, but they just kind of cock their heads to the side like they're puzzled at my attempts to speak their language and like they don't understand what I'm saying. Despite the initial fear, I've grown accustomed to their presence. I even feel a strange sense of comfort when I hear their howls in the distance. It's like they're welcoming me to their domain, acknowledging my presence in their world. As I continued on my train ride, I began to notice that the werewolves were becoming more comfortable around me as the years went by. They would appear closer to the tracks, their eyes fixed on me with curious intensity. I could sense their presence even when I couldn't see them, a strange sixth sense that told me that they were nearby. And I'll admit, I even tossed them apples and oranges and some of my lunch whenever I knew they were out there. One night, as I was stopping at a deserted station, I saw one of the werewolves standing on the platform. It was closer than any of them had ever been before, its eyes locked onto mine with an unnerving intensity. This was an old platform where we would unload feed at a feed store along the tracks, but they used it for a playground now. I didn't feel threatened, but I did feel scared, if that makes sense. Instead, I sensed a strange connection, like we were two old friends reunited after a long time apart. And the weird thing is, sometimes they are in clothes. Well, mostly they're in clothes and they're wearing shirts. Very rarely have I seen them wear pants. I have seen that before, but most of the time they're only in a shirt. It's amazing what it is out there along these trails. Maybe they jump on to get rides from us down the tracks to other places in other cities. I don't know, but they do seem attracted to the railroads. That's a very interesting story. I wouldn't be surprised if they do train jump. That'd be a fast way to get around, and they could get back and forth to where they're going. It would also explain the missing hobos and the hobos that are found shredded in the train cars. So if you're jumping trains, you might want to be careful because you don't know what's going to jump in with you. You might get a rider you don't want that might want a meal on the track. So keep your head on a swivel, guys. Don't be something's dinner. Don't forget to smash that like button, and we'll see you on the next one.